I'm Richa Mehta, and it's my privilege to welcome all of you, the office bearers of PMA, the vice presidents, Tupeji, who's already joined us, the participants who are both members of PMA as well as the non members, and the speaker of the day, Mr. Biman Gandhi. I welcome all of you to this session, which is called We the People. As we all know, at Pune Management Association, we proudly identify ourselves as body of knowledge, and as a body, we are functioning and executing various things through various organs. Two such organs, the Center of Excellence HR and the Center of Excellence Skill Development, has organized today's program. It gives me immense pleasure to take note of the presence of some of the office bearers and Mr. Pradeep Tupe, the Vice President of Pune Management Association, is here. I would request him to say a few words because, as we know, the Vice Presidents of PMA are the force behind all COEs and they provide their inputs and guidance from time to time. I would request Mr. Tupe to please come and share a few words about PMA and about today's program. Tupe sir is a veteran, he's an influencer and has been serving in many roles such as Secretary Araneshwar Siksha Sanstha, Dayanand Vidyapeeth. He has been an independent director on Innovative Ventures Limited and Opal Luxury Time Products Limited. He is a vice president, Pune City of Lagu Udyog Bharati, an all India organization for small scale industry. I would request now Pradeep ji to come and say a few words.
Thank you, Richa Madam. Warm welcome on behalf of Pune Management Association to the all participants of today's evening. Very interesting topic, as you see, the attendance. And on behalf of each one of you, I extend my warm welcome to Engineer Biman Gandhi, our own Mr. Bimanji. He is also Executive Committee member of our Pune Management Association. Let me speak something about Pune Management Association because I see many new faces. Pune Management Association was established way back in 1965 informally and 1977 formally, almost 46 years back. And since then we are functioning through various, you can say, activities, seminars, lectures, and so many. I will not talk about that. Recently, we had celebrated our 46th Foundation Day, and many stalwarts, Dr. Anand Deshpande, Dr. Abhay Jere, Mr. Prakash Iyer, and Padma Shri Manoj Joshi, all these stalwarts came to attend and guide our programs, audience. And we will be having many programs to come. As I think many of you are aware, it was established or rather started by the top industrialist of our country, led Padma Bhushan Chandraraoji Kirloskar, led Dr. Nilkant Rao Kalyani, led Chandrakantji Kirloskar, led Vasantrao Vaidya, and led Mr. C.V. Zog. All these stalwarts, along with their colleagues, they came together and started Pune Management Association, as I said, way back in 1965. And since then, we are very active in various fields of management. Recently, we reorganized ourselves and established 14 different verticals to pursue our goals. One of the key features of this is through these 14 different verticals, more than 125 senior volunteers. Again, volunteers may give you wrong impression, but volunteers means all senior people working voluntarily for with the theme that we generally call it as joy of giving back to the society. So with this theme in mind, we work for Pune Management Association, and yes, simultaneously we achieve great networking amongst ourselves. This is what is the way of functioning of Pune Management Association. As I said, 14 different verticals literally covers all the aspects of the management. You name the aspect and yes, we have vertical there. So with this brief introduction, I hand it over back to Richa Madam again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dupeji. Thanks a lot. We have Mr. Girish Bakshi here, who is the director of COE HR. I would request Mr. Bakshi to say a few words about the COE HR um, as we are doing this program in collaboration with the COE
Thank you,
HR.
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. COE HR is one of the 14 verticals mainly for supporting the HR from the industry. We conduct many programs for the benefit of the employers, also for the students. We are proposing one program on the labor code, which is expected to be implemented on that, which will be paid webinar. We do a lot of activities related to HR part on training. Thank you. Thanks a lot. I request Richa ma'am to take over.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Mr. Bakshi. And while we are at it and while we are introducing ourselves, I'll just quickly introduce myself. My name is Richa Mehta, as I already said. I am the director of COE Skill Development. Very recently, I've taken charge of this. We work very closely with youth, and we have been coming up with programs like Campus to Corporate, majorly for upskilling and skill development in youth today, so that they become more employable. So that's about me and the COE skill development. So without really wasting too much of time, I would now welcome Mr. Biman Gandhi and a quick introduction about him. Mr. Biman Gandhi, though does not need an introduction. All of you know him very well. He has close to about 30 years of experience in the fields of technology, business, and management. He started off his career as a trainee engineer at an energy company, and then he scaled up soon enough to become the executive director of a multinational company. He wears many hats, and his versatility comes from the variety of profiles, which includes project engineering, plant maintenance, site commissioning, business development operations, detail engineering, product development, and enhancement. Mr. Biman Gandhi plays key role in handling large and complex projects and developing standards and processes, setting up new verticals and spheres, heading strategic initiatives and new companies. Currently, he is leading business and executive coach and a mentor, providing services through his own startup, which is called Neelman Consultants, which he started in the year 2015. Mr. Gandhi has been retained as the organizational development coach for a large manufacturing company. He is a CEO of IT Infrastructure Solution Company, business advisor in Business Solution Provide Group, strategic advisor with equipment manufacturing company, and mentor for a few startups. Besides his professional activities, Mr. Gandhi is associated with social organizations. In the past, he has chaired the Entrepreneur Identification Group at BYST and has held the position of Director Entrepreneurship Development as a COE of PMA. Currently, he is the member of Executive Committee of PMA, and a lot of times he shares his pearls of wisdom on his YouTube channel, which is not to be missed at all, which is called Business Wise, and also Baman Ki Baat from time to time. Empowering people and improving business is his mantra. So today we are going to be hearing from him about people, the most important aspects in all our lives. So handing it over to Mr. Gandhi. Bimanji, this stage is all yours. And before we start off, can I just make two requests? Would request everybody to keep their microphones on mute. And any questions, please put it in the chat box, because once we are done with the session, we would have a question and answer session where we would be picking up the questions. Thank you so much, and over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Richa ji, for the lovely introduction. And I'm really happy and I feel very obliged to be part of this platform again. I think after a gap of about 4 or 5 months, I'm doing a session again on some completely a different topic, which of course is, I think very close to everybody's heart. And I think, that was reflected in the number of registrations that we saw. And also considering our, average presence or turnout on our regular programs, I think, that's also evident. So I welcome all of you after giving my thanks to PMA and all the other dignitaries. This topic is, of course, very, very close to my heart. And I tend to believe that, it is close to your heart as well, because uh, we are one of them. When we say we the people, of course, it's a very famous, statement, which I think, our Constitution of India starts with this, or American Constitution also starts with this. we the people, and everything is around us is people, people, and people. Whether if you think, no, I'm a loner and I can do things on my own, probably you are really heavily mistaking yourself, because in organization it is always about people. If you step out of your home, you get surrounded by so many people in your society, in your compound. You get onto the road and you are surrounded by so many people, and then each one of us behave differently. Each one of us show up differently to each other, and that's where this skill called the powerful people skill comes in picture. So, for the time being, forget about the title, which is "We the People," because it was very catchy. I picked that up, but I think the program is actually on powerful people skill, and I would like to share, whatever has been my observation in past 1 or 2 weeks while I was studying this subject and developing the content for this particular show. Uh, so I have been already introduced. So I'll skip that part. To begin with, I would like to throw one question. You don't have to necessarily answer. Maybe you can answer on chat box. But somewhere, in my life, I observed that, what is it that we have actually come along, when we were born? When we were born, probably the Almighty guided us with only just two things. And that's my belief. One of them was our ability to breathe. If we did not have that ability to breathe, probably we would not have survived, right? So that is something which was gifted to us by Almighty. And the second thing which was, kind of, granted to us was a finite time to spend on this planet. Some people live, let's say, 20 years, 30 years. Unfortunate people, they actually leave this planet too early, compared to an average age. Some people go up to 50 and 55, 60, whatever number of years they spend. And some people, live 70 or even 100 plus, very, very fortunate people. But these are the two things that, I believe that Almighty had granted to us. Everything else that we have picked up on the way till our journey in the life so far are the things which we have picked up on the way. And what all those things are? Those things are the experience, probably the good ones and the bad ones, the skills that we have picked up. Apart from ability to breathe, if you consider that as a skill, there are so many things with which we are able to move around, we are able to survive, we are able to grow. There are certain values or sanskaras which were again given to us by our surroundings, by our grandparents, parents, our friends, our office mates. There are so many people who actually instill those values or sanskaras, as we call in Sanskrit. And of course, we have built so many different relationships. I'm not talking about the relationships on social media. They are also one of them, but there are so many real relationships that we have, picked up on the way. So keeping that in mind, I'm just trying to build the context. And are you able to see my screen still? All right. Uh, yeah. So when I was, putting this topic together, and when I shared the flyer with one of my friends, he immediately came back to me. Probably he's not there on the program right now, but he asked me one question. Biman, you are going to talk about these powerful people skills. Is it not really a competence? So he just asked me a question, kind of, checking on me whether, is this really a skill, or would you consider a competence? And it was really a nice question, kind of, it made me think. And then I just instantly gave him an answer that, skill is something uh, which is basically a specific ability to perform a task when there is a predefined or expected result. So skill is an ability with which you perform a task and you generate some result. That is what we generally call as a skill, and you consider any skill for that matter. Whereas the competence has two different ways to really look at. One of them is to really measure the level of the skill. Many a times, in organizations, those who have worked in big corporates, probably they are aware that the skills are measured either on the basis of the person is very naive on that, or somebody who is just a beginner, or somebody who is competent enough. So that's where the word competence come in picture. So somebody who is competent enough, probably you feel very safe to hand that task to him because he is competent at a certain skill. And then of course the expertise level and the proficiency level, those are the other two levels. So that is one of the ways to look at the competence. And in my personal assessment, the skill is the competence is also, and when you show up with your attitude, that actually makes the competence along with the skill. So with that clarification, I would like to start with our today's agenda, and our agenda is basically going to focus on variety of things. When we talk about skills, I'm sure you have heard about so many different things, and I'm just listing them down you know uh, on this slide. And when you look at them, you will also realize that okay, this list is already very exhaustive. Maybe some of the skills you have already mastered upon, but there are certain skills which you think you probably have not put your hands on, you have not tried those skills, or you probably did not get the opportunity or exposure to really look at that. Amongst all of that, there are certain skills. Again, I'm just trying to share my insight that there are certain skills which are only responsible for your survival. If you have those skills, you can just live life. You can just survive on this planet. But if you really want to grow and really, make yourself, stand out or make yourself count, then you need certain skills which are like, I consider them as very crucial skills. Communication, for example, you can always get better and better and better at communication. Your time management skills, your negotiation skills, your ability to deal with complex situation or dealing with ambiguity, or taking some complex decisions, probably are the skills which you require to really, rise above the average. And people skills is one of those skills, and that's going to be our focus today. All right, so let's begin our journey on these people skills. So when we talk about people, and I earlier mentioned that when you step out of your home, you sometimes meet strange people, just in your compound or just on the road, or maybe you are going for a meeting and you meet somebody whom you do not know enough, and then we start building something called as first impression. So many times, so many things we have heard about this first impression, haven't we? The things like the first impression is the last impression. You never get a chance to build your second the you never get a second chance to build your first impression. Or sometimes you also hear that the first impression dies very slowly, but the bad impression really takes time to really get rid of it. So I just tried to do, while I was preparing in the run up to this program, I was preparing some slides and I was looking for some content. So these are not my numbers. I have just picked up the statistics from the internet related to first impression. And look at these statistics. These are really very interesting statistics. Maybe the first slide which I'm showing right now here will not surprise you, which says that about 90% of us, 95% of us believe that the first impression is very important. But now look at the second. Out of those 95, the percentage drastically drops down. The 68% believe that my first impression are not really accurate. So even though we believe in those nice quotes and nice sayings about the first impression, you can see the deviation has already started taking place. Let's look at some more statistics. Some people think that I'm able to make a first impression in just about a second. So there are certain number of people, like 33 people out of I don't know how many of them in total they were evaluated or were asked this question to. But 33 of them believe that I can just take 1 second to create an impression, and then the number goes up. And some people think no, it takes really a good amount of time, which is like 5 minutes, to really create the first impression. Then there are people uh, who would like to, if you look at this slide very carefully, these and the next, what about your own analysis of the impression that you are making in the first attempt? So there are 18 people feel that I'm making an impression of being friendly. There are 9 people think that I'm, able to make an impression of being a very nice person. And some people think I'm quiet or shy or confident. But what actually people want, how they want to be seen, and that's very interesting. There are 16 and 21 people respectively think that I would like to be, uh, show up as a charismatic person, or some people would say, no, I would like to appear, or my first impression should always be of a confident person. So that's about the impression. But let's go beyond the impression, because there is always a story beyond the first sight. There is always not necessarily love at first sight. And that's where the things start really taking place. And that's how you need to really be cautious about the people skill. So after the first impression, which is about generally about the personality and looks, you assess people based on their behavior. You also assess people based on their attitude, and you also assess people based on the actions that they are taking and the results that they are producing. Okay, now this of course is not going to happen in the first impression. I hope everybody agrees. I know everybody is muted, so you can't really respond here, but I believe that you are with me and sort of agree with me on this. Because it does not really happen in the first attempt, in the first impression. What we do is we normally rely on our experience. Maybe with that person that we are, let's say, making a subject matter here. So we are either depending on the experience. Again, everything is connected here. Attitude, it could be experienced through their attitude, it could be experienced through the results that they have produced, or it could be through their behaviors also. And when we don't have enough experience, we rely on something else, and that something else is called as the worldview. What is worldview? I'm sure most of you have heard about this terminology, but worldview is basically, is nothing but the collection of your past experience with the other people, other situation, not necessarily with the person in front of us whom we are trying to assess or we are trying to understand, but it is with the other people. Sometimes, because of the lack of experience with this person in front of me, probably I am relying on my prejudice or my stronger beliefs. And that is how we try to assess people. And once we start assessing people, doesn't matter whether it is a first uh, impression or a second impression, or let's say the first meeting or a second meeting, you start doing something else. What do? We start labeling people based on our experience and our worldview. So let's take some example of how you really label people here. Just imagine that you walked out of your home and get onto the road. I just, for the sake of remaining unbiased, I have put up my picture itself, so you can label me. But let's say if it is me, and I have just you have just come out of the home and you are on the road, and what if I just suddenly cut off your way? Okay, we are in a heavy traffic situation, and I have just cut off your way. Probably you will consider me as a very careless driver or a reckless driver, right? That's the first thought that comes into our mind when we really start developing some impression about the people, and those are still impressions, and those are the labels that we give to the people. When you are down and out and find yourself in the middle of nowhere, but somebody just walks in and puts a or taps your shoulder and suddenly changes your mood and kind of solves your problem also, you probably would label that person as a very, very inspiring person. Sometimes the people give you promises, give you very, very big commitment, but if they are able to keep their commitment in all respect, then you probably will label that person a very, very committed person. Let's just take a break. I think there is some bandwidth issue, so I'll turn off my video if it is okay. Yeah. So you consider that person a very, very committed person. On an average day, you will be shocked probably how many times you really end up labeling things, labeling people, labeling objects. And besides naming or labeling people around you or the day of the week, you sometimes create labels based on the snap judgments. You take judgments in a fraction of second, because Probably, that's the way you have been operating yourself. So you have, a tendency of taking a very, very quick judgment. And when you take those kind of judgment, you end up, doing this wrong here. All right. Uh, Richard, can you just show me thumbs up sign if everything is visible on your screen? Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So you start labeling people in, with variety of names. You sometimes you call them childish. Sometimes you know, call them names like cunning. Some people are dumb. Some are introvert. Some are uh, misbehaved. Some are problematic. N number of labels. I'm just, going to fill up these slides with so many different labels. But of course, when it comes to really memorize the people, we of course are not remembering every single person. If there is no interaction, there is no transaction, and you will hear this from me time and again, this interaction and transaction, because people's skills are all, centered around these two magic words called interactions and transactions. So we are not going to remember people just on on our experience of meeting them or dealing with them for a fraction of a second. When we really have some kind of experience or worldview, we start categorizing them, because our mind does not have the capability to remember each one with a specific label. So there are three broad categories. You categorize them based on whether they are harmful to you or they are helpful to you. And the third category is neither of them. They are neither harmful nor helpful. So you put them, or your mind, your psychological mind, puts those people into neutral category. Now, of course, these are the quick judgments that we have taken. And to begin with people skills, if you really want to, be good at people skills, one of the things that you must avoid is to stop labeling people, or at least overcome the habit of labeling people. Let's look at how do you do that. First of all, you need to start believing in one phrase कि कोई भी बेटा अपनी माँ की कोख से मुजरिम बन के पैदा नहीं होता है. I'm sure you must have heard this from Amitabh Bachchan in several movies, right? It's basically nothing but it's the situation and circumstances which make people very bad or behave in a different way, not necessarily bad, but they behave erratic, they behave aggressive, they become intolerant, they become very passive, sometimes they go silent. It's all because they are behaving or operating under certain circumstances. It's not really the person's real identity. Fundamentally, every single person is a good person. That's the beginning, or the kind of thought that you have to really instill in your mind. Once you do that, you probably will also understand that actually no one wants to harm you until you really sound harmful to them. In the previous slide, I just showed you that how do we, or how do our mind really categorize people in harmful or helpful category. But fundamentally, nobody really wants to harm you until you sound harmful to them. We actually have a reptile mind. How the reptiles operate or how do they function. They function only when they see a fear, when they are threatened, when they think or they perceive that there is a threat or somebody is going to cause them the harm. That's where they actually show their real color. Okay, and then they start attacking you. So if you agree to this first point, it will be very easy for you to really agree to the another point or the next point, which is operate more out of your optimism rather than operating out of your fears and securities. Have you found people around you, or it may be you also, who always take an extreme safe position? They are the ones who operate out of their fear or insecurity. They are the ones who probably don't trust anyone very, very easily. They sometimes demonstrate an extra bit of precautions. Sometimes you find them, they are delaying or they don't even take a decision. They behave very erratic or aggressive. These are the people who are operating out of their fears or insecurities. So if you can just, if you are able to kind of shift the way you look at things, the way you look at people, instead of operating from your fear or insecurities, and I think, your heart and mind are the best friends. They can tell you whether you are operating out of your fear or insecurities. When they do that, try to develop some bit of optimism. And once you are able to do that, you will be good at overcoming labeling the people. The next thing, avoid people labeling you. Like we label people, people also label us. It's always give and take, it's always reciprocal. So if you somehow are able to label people labeling you in a wrong manner, probably they are probably labeling you that you are very adamant, बहुत ही जिद्दी type का बंदा है, but you are not. But then you need to keep your behaviors in check. You probably need to check your conversations, so your dealing, your interactions, and your transactions with them, which probably are giving a feeling that you are adamant. You are not, but it gives them the impression that you are adamant, and that's why they are labeling, and you feel that this labeling, whatever is happening on me, is a very wrong labeling. Once you start avoiding people labeling you, you will understand the entire process in your mind, and then you will start avoiding labeling people, and that's how you overcome labeling people. And once you have gone past this stage, the next stage or the next thing that comes in sequence is to understand people. So let's look at how do we really understand people. I think there is some animation issue, but I hope you can still look at the screen, right? Although it is slightly faded. So when it comes to, yeah, okay, it was just in continuation. Sorry, it was my mistake. So it's basically when you still have an urge of labeling people, label jars, but not the people. That's the message. Okay, so next thing is understanding people. How do you understand people? First of all, you again, like in previous slide, you had to believe that people are not there to harm you. You have to also believe that people are interested in themselves and not in you, and so are we. It's vice versa. Each one of us are under serious, heavy load of situation in front of us. Situations that are waiting for us, situations which are likely to develop. Basically, even though we are coexisting together, we live separately in mind, and that's where people are behaving differently under certain circumstances. If you understand that very well, you will be able to understand that if he is not showing any interest to me, if he is not trying to collaborate with me, if he is not striking a conversation with me, probably he has something else running in his or her mind. And this happens with you also, and you experience this almost every single day, right? Your mind is clogged with so many different thoughts. You have decided to do these and that and 10 things in a particular day, but you are not able to do it just because there are situations which are developing in front of you. The circumstances which are dragging you are actually keeps you disinterested from anything else, including the people. And that's what is actually happening with the other people also, the your subject. Yeah. What you can do when it comes to understanding people is make them as comfortable as possible. If you make people comfortable, it makes you comfortable. It is as simple as that. Please bear in mind, I talked about the priority, a short while ago. Please bear in mind that the priority that the people carry are way too important for them than you. You are somewhere in their priority list. You are somewhere very much down in the list. So when you interact with them, you actually help them readjust their priority, and that's how you make them comfortable, make them feel comfortable, because somehow you are actually gaining a space to get into their list of priorities. So try making people comfortable in any possible manner. If they are distressed, maybe you can just give a shoulder for them to cry on your shoulder. If they need some help, probably you can offer some help, and that's how you make people comfortable. If you make people comfortable, people will end up making you comfortable. Many a times when we are interacting, and usually this happens in first or second meeting, we are very much focused on throwing a great impression about ourselves. Instead, you just shift it, you flip it, you be interested in them instead of being impressing them in first go. Believe that you are going to get a chance. Maybe half an hour later, maybe in the next meeting, maybe some other day, you are going to get a chance to impress upon you or talk things about you. But first chance should always be given to the people. Once you give them that chance, they will understand you better. If they understand you better, you will understand them even better. Continuing with understanding the people, give people enough chance. Don't conclude in the first go or even with the first transaction itself. Sometimes people may not fulfill your expectation, or they probably are not up to live up to your expectations. They probably fail to deliver what they have committed. But please make sure that you are giving them enough chance. When people fail, try to analyze why they have failed. What could have been the reason other than the people? Okay, so you focus on the issue, not on the people. And in the process, you should also give yourself some time. So it's not only about giving people the chance, it is and it's not give people chance and sorry, or give yourself some time. It is give people chance and give yourself also some time. Then context is very very funny thing. If you are out of context, probably you will jeopardize the whole thing. Many a times, a lot of people and maybe some lawyers who probably are present on this meeting probably have come across a legal language which reads like, uh, a clause 3 read with article 5. So here, Article 5 is actually setting the context for that clause 3. So when you are interacting with people, when you are observing people, when you are collecting some impression about the people, when you are developing your worldview and experience about that person, please always ensure that it was under a specific context. And if that context is not existing, make sure that you are setting the context so that you both are on the same page. It's like, coming on the same page, coming at the same level of understanding, coming under the same context. Then only you will be able to really transact well. Then assumption, unfortunately, whenever you assume, most of the time we end up that, the assumptions are near to the truth, which actually is exactly opposite. In a relationship, people say that relationship assumptions are always like termites. It eats up the relationship because there are so many assumptions that people make. There is no harm in or restriction when you are assuming things, but of course do not forget to clarify them appropriately. Because sometimes, because of the lack of experience, lack of information, lack of evidence, you end up assuming things. So there is no harm or restriction on assuming things. You are free to do that. But when you are assuming, try to double check, and if possible in an appropriate manner, try to clarify so that your assumptions will be ruled out. Whether it turns out true or false doesn't really matter. But at least you are keeping the assumptions out. After you understand the people a little bit, let's say in your first second interaction, and maybe you want to strike a deal with them, or maybe you are selecting a spouse, your life partner, or maybe you are forging a new partnership or doing some kind of collaboration. Maybe there are a couple of colleagues who are coming together and trying to do something together. There is a project team where the strange people are introduced to each other. Once you understand people, the next thing that comes in the process is reading the people. And here the keyword reading is very very important. Reading people is not really very different from reading a book. If you are good at reading people, the quality of your decision about the people will be better. It's like, once you read the book, you make an impression. Once you watch a movie, you make an impression whether it was good or bad. And then you decide whether मुझे ये director का movie या ये author का book पढ़ना है नहीं पढ़ना है. You make those kind of decisions. Generally, you can't complete a book. Of course, if it is a movie, probably in one go you can finish. But when it comes to book, and that's why I have taken an example of a book. If it is a book, you can't complete reading one book in just one sitting, right? Likewise, reading a person may not be accomplished in just one meeting or one sitting. You may need multiple interactions. But your basic sense of reading the body language really helps you here. And of course, this is not really a class of body language, so we'll not really dwell much on or deliberate much on body language. But body language, as you all know, our eyes are expressing a lot. So try looking at, whether the people are blocking their eyes, whether people are locking their lips, whether people are shrugging their shoulders. These are some, very basic things through which you can actually understand how people are, behaving, or what the real personality of that person could be, or what the person could be in reality. When they are talking, when they are expressing something in a conversation, even though you are using your very basic sense of body language or basic skill of reading a body language, try looking for the deviation, because generally people mess up when they are lying, when they are saying something, or they are kind of boasting themselves way too much, then their body language actually does not support them. So if you are really good at that, good, sharp at that, you'll be able to understand or read the people better. Another thing, again connected to body language only, although I have shown here as a separate point. But when you are having a conversation, ask questions, which basically kind of a check on their personality. And when you ask a question, don't just end up asking the question and wait for the response. Keep looking at them and keep listening to them, because when they look at you, and when they start responding to you, and the way you are listening, you will be able to find some opening there, you will be able to find some deviation if there are there. And if there are no deviation, it's good for you. Maybe the kind of person that you were looking for, you are exactly bang on. So look for those bodily signs. Sometimes being open actually helps the other people to open up more. So you say a couple of things which was not known to him, he will say things which are not known to you or unknown to you. So be open, but at the same time, stay unbiased also. And I am sure Nishant here will like this point very well, because he is a student of mental heuristics. Uh, we operate with a lot of bias. Earlier, I talked about our experience, which kind of blindfolds us, or our worldview, which kind of blocks our vision, or does not really help us with our sound judgment capability to take the sound judgment. Bias is also one sort such thing. So try to be as open as possible. Just kind of a blotting paper which is absorbing the information as it comes, not necessarily trying to make a judgment and start developing an opinion. Because once you start developing an opinion, it's a slippery slope. You will start, the chances are that you will start making it very firm opinion. So in order to stay away from the opinion, just be a blotting paper. And the climax, when it comes to movie or book, is always interesting. So postpone your judgment until you really hear them out completely. Sometimes we are too early to make a judgment, and we kind of cut off the discussion, we curtail the meeting, we get up and we walk out. Happens with all of you, right? Happens with me as well. But again, earlier slide, I told you that give people a chance, give yourself also some time. If you are really interested in one or the other way professionally, try to make sure that you are uh, spending enough time and not really walking out quickly. All right. Then comes connecting with people. Now that you have understood the people and you have read the people, connecting with the people, each one of us are attention seekers, and so are the people. Uh, we generally don't like to, give attention, or maybe there is a tendency, because we want the entire spotlight to be on us. But when you try giving attention to the people, chances are that you will connect with people very, very quickly. Then the next thing is, we all crave for craving, don't we? So when people are craving for care, people are looking for some kind of sympathy, please give them their due. when you really care for them and you make them really feel, it should be demonstrable. If you are able to demonstrate through your actions, through your words even, that you really care and you are there for them, that's how you showcase your demo or demonstrate your sympathy. uh, Again, you'll do a very good job in terms of connecting with the people. Offer help. Everybody needs help. There is not a single person who doesn't need help. Even if it is Narendra Modi or Anil Ambani or Bill Gates or whoever, everybody in this world every day needs some help. So during your conversation, if you think that a person is needy and you could be of any help to them, offer that help to them. Empathy, a very very interesting aspect of the powerful people skill. Practice empathy by synchronizing between what you think, what you feel, what you say, and what you do. If there is an imbalance or there is some kind of, if you miss on the synchronization of what you feel, what you think, what you say, and what you do, people have really good radars to really sense that you are missing out on something, and you are also have those great powerful sensors, and you will immediately kind of spot the deviation. So every time you strike a conversation with people, and especially the people who really matter a lot in your life, in your business, in your profession, try to practice empathy. Empathy means nothing but just being observant, passing on the observations or talking only about the observation and not passing the judgment. When you pass a judgment, you end up talking about the people. So try to separate people in the issues. When you focus on the issues, people will be taken care of automatically. Excitement, everybody likes excitement, don't we? So when and have you heard about not heard, of course you know that two smokers really gel with each other very very quickly. Why? Because those are the moments of excitement when they are smoking the cigarettes or whatever. They really connect with each other very very well, because it's the moment of excitement. So of course, I'm not suggesting to go for smoking, but create a context, create some occasions to have some kind of excitement in your conversation, have some kind of excitement in your interaction or transaction, so that you are able to spend some good moments together. And when you are spending good moments together, again, you are increasing the chance of connecting with people better. Everybody needs protection. People come forward only when they are satisfied with their assessment about you, that you are a safe person. Otherwise, they don't come forward. They don't even take a step. So you have to give them, through your conversation, through your dealing with them, you have to give them a feeling that yes, you are a safe person. And if they found you, okay, this guy seems to be safe person. Remember that helpful versus harmful again. So people will accept you, people will connect with you only when they think you are not harmful, or at least you are neutral. Yeah. Regardless of whether you are going to end up helping them or not, whether you are helpful or not, they are not bothered much. If they think that okay, you are neutral and you are safe person, they will come closer to you. Then initiative. Not all of us are really gifted with this quality. Sometimes the connection just doesn't happen because both sides are waiting for their counterpart to take an initiative. पहले आपका वाला मामला है. And because people are not taking initiative, you be the one, you be the first person to take an initiative. Even those could be small gestures, maybe offering a cup of coffee, maybe taking them and introducing to a really important person, maybe helping them out. You take an initiative, find an opportunity to take an initiative, so that you can do exactly on the opposite side, which is help. Initiative के जो opposite side में है, you end up helping the people when you take the initiative. So try doing that. Take the first step. You be the first. And then last but not the least, when it comes to connecting with people, is respecting people. Respect is just like attention in some cases, but respect is one of the unspoken but very very strong need of the people. Attention is also a need, but respect is also one of the unspoken need. When people need attention, sometimes through their gestures they will indicate to you that they need attention, but when they are seeking respect, they probably are not able to spell it out. But you, as a good person with a good powerful people skills should always make sure that you are transacting with a person with utmost respect, because when you respect people from your heart, you accept them. Forget about them accepting you. But when you respect people, fundamentally what you are doing is you are accepting them. When you are accepting them, you consider them either equal or more than you. And especially when you respect people, either they are equal or you consider them a level above you. And when you respect people, they also reciprocate. As they say, you get respect if you give respect. So these are the 8 points which actually helps you to connect with people. I'm just doing a time check here. I need to probably go a little quickly here because we are coming closer to 8:30. About 6 minutes are left, but I'll try to cover as much as I can. So please be with me. And pardon me if I'm running fast here, okay? Influencing and inspiring people. Again, not everybody's cup of tea. Because the way we all have grown up, we are told, we grow under certain setup. Uh, let's say when we start our profession, maybe we start at a junior level, and then we come to some kind of leadership role, and then people label you as a manager. And the one of the things that people do as a manager is they start controlling things. Nothing wrong with it, because a manager has to be in control of a lot of different things. Even a housewife, at home also has to be in control of a lot of things. But when you start controlling things, remember one thing: control always has a finite limit. With my two hands, I can only hold maybe 5 or 10 things, right? And the moment I go beyond my capacity to control, the things that I'm already holding will start slipping out of my hand when I'm trying to control the 11th thing. All right. So control always has a finite limit. So instead of controlling people, always try to influence people. How can you influence people? It's just like a salt you sprinkle on a piece of food, okay, and it just amalgamates. It requires very little effort, and the entire food becomes little bit salty to the level you want. uh, it's like also the light. When I switch off everything in my little office where I'm sitting right now, maybe once I switch off everything, tartars and insects and mosquitoes and everything will start showing up, and it will fill up this place. But the moment sun rises tomorrow morning, and sun always rises, the moment the light will start filling up this room, all those mosquitoes and darkness and everything will go away. That's influence. So try to be the light in the life of the people instead of controlling things, especially when you are in a leadership role, when you are leading the way. Try to influence people, try to inspire people. And that you can do by creating the environment, creating an environment where things happen almost autonomous. That's the level of autonomy that you have to bring in your transaction with the people. People also need encouragement, especially the people who are reporting into you. I'm assuming that on this particular slide we are talking about we as managers, or we as people in a leadership role. So encouraging is definitely required, but just encouragement is not sufficient. You need to also provide them an unwavering support. When you it's just like you do with your child when you are pushing your children into a swimming pool. You encourage them because he's going to learn something new, because it's going to add some value into their respective life. But at the same time, you are making sure, because you have created an environment, you are making sure that the child is supported, he's not going to drown. Okay, you made all the safety arrangements, and you probably yourself know the swimming, so you know that in a crisis situation, probably you are there to give the support. So that's the way you need to encourage people. At the same time, offer the support. Just encouragement is not necessary. Jao pool mein kud jao bol ke, if you go and go inside and sip a cup of coffee, probably that's not going to help. Then help eliminate the obstacles. People always have some or the other challenges, issues, the problems in front of them. If you are able to address their real pain and difficulties, you are basically helping them to eliminate the obstacles. And once the obstacles are eliminated, they feel that okay, they are on a growth path. People like when you are a party to their growth story, and they consider you as an inspiration when you are really a part of their growth story. And how can you be part of their growth stories? Too, by eliminating the obstacles on their road. We talked about encouragement. Now let's talk about empowerment. My two favorite words, empowerment and encouragement. Empower people, but like encourage, you needed to give some unwavering support. When you are empowering people, allow some experiments, because when you are empowering people, let's say for a small time, you are basically giving power in their hand. And when people have power in their hand, they would like to experiment on their own way. They would like to apply their own creativity, their own ideas. And in the process of exercising their creativity, they are going to end up doing some experiments. So allow some experiments. In other words, allow some mistakes also. So if they end up committing some mistakes, please make sure that you are kind enough to really pardon them. That's how you inspire people. Give directions, because that's necessary. You as an experienced person, you have lived a very good life so far. The life has been very kind to you, so you are in a position to direct people, but give them a necessary space. Everything here comes conditional. Encourage with support, and empowerment by allowing to experiment to certain degree. And here also, when you direct people, don't direct like the horses which are blinded. The horses don't see anything because they are blindfolded. So here you should also give them some space. Right. Richaji, how am I doing on time?
It's already 8:30, Bimanji. I think another 5 minutes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so only a couple of slides are left now, maybe three slides. I'll keep it very, very simple. So we talked about influencing and inspiring people, but assume again that you are in a leadership role, and if you have to really what it really takes to lead the people, lead a flock of people, uh, and especially when it comes to leadership, one thing that really comes along with the the big word like leadership is the big words like vision and mission and whatnot, values and stuff like that. Nothing wrong with it, but a real leader is somebody who goes beyond just spelling out the vision and mission. His real role starts when the once the vision and mission, which are typically charted out in a closed room, and when he goes to the people, his role is to really establish a line of sight of his team members contribution to the big picture, how they are going to contribute to this vision and mission, and also give them the necessary tools. Also create that what's in it for me. Here there is a slight typo here. It should be what's in it for me. uh, People always operate based on these. If they are interested, they always look for what is really interesting for me here in that vision, in that big picture. Is it really something meaningful for me? And that's how they operate. Then the courage. I think when it comes to courage, just really take a second, maybe close your eyes and think of any leader of your choice. And when you think of that leader, I'm pretty sure that somewhere you will easily relate that leader of your choice to this aspect, which is courage. A leader, I believe, is really, really incomplete without this attribute called courage. It really takes a dare to make tough decisions. It really takes a large heart to trade the issues of lesser importance against the issues of greater importance. It really takes a strong will to create something really, really monumental. And that is nothing but courage. So demonstrate that courage. If your people are not able to see courage, probably they will just think that, okay, there is somebody on top of me, but not really a leader. Yeah, it's that important. Then lead the way, but also show the way. Of course, leaders are always, we hear that, you need to set an example, you have to lead by example. So in that sense, yes, of course, it is very necessary. You have to lead the way, but also show the way. Don't just close the way behind you. In other words, you should also let them know how can they also become leader one day. If that connection or that feeling is not established, probably you are not doing justice to connect with your people, uh, you know, in a leadership role. Then, of course, as a leader, there are thousands of eyes which are watching and thousands of ears which are hearing every single thing that you speak and utter. So mind your words, keep your words, and also keep a good check on your words, because everything is being recorded somewhere. Okay, there are lots of hard disks around you. Making people happy, I think these needs really no introduction, because being happy is a natural state, isn't it? When you help people regain their natural state, which is a happy state, you are doing them a great favor. And if you are doing them a great favor, you are already a great person in terms of the people skills. So very quickly, let's look at how can we make people happy. And one of the simplest thing to make people happy is let them overtake on the road. I'm sure you all can relate with this experience. When we are driving, sometimes we are in such a hurry, in such an aggression, we don't let people overtake us. But if you just let people overtake you on the road, how can you do that in your real life, in your professional environment? By simple things, appropriate hugs and touches. You induce some kind of humor, kind of relax the mahal. Do some innocent mischief which is not going to be harmful. Send appreciation notes in return. Just saying thank you or appreciating somebody in a group of 10 people not enough. Sometimes you need to uh, send a return appreciation note. Make them feel that you are there. Again, sense of protection, that yes, you are always there. That's how you make people feel happy. Make them feel very special. Of course, appreciation, recognition, giving awards and this and that, all is fine, but how you make them special is by remembering what really what they are really good at. Maybe not many people know about it, but you are the one who has spotted this out, and when you mention about it and you really make a kind of public declaration in front of so many people, makes them really special. Offer meal or a glass of water. We nowadays receive lots of stuff on delivery, right from Zomatos to Amazon to Swiggy's and whatnot. When those guys knock on your door, offer a glass of water, makes them happy, make their life easy. The simplest thing that you can do is make their life easy. Mirror their feelings. If they are sad, you have to mirror those feelings. If they are really happy, and if you are एकदम खड़ूस जैसा चेहरा बना के बैठे उसके सामने, when he is happy, probably it's not going to work out. It's not going to make them happy. And give them your quality time and attention, because again, attention is everybody's need. Now, the last one is about dealing with difficult people. The difficulty with difficult person is they come in wide varieties. Look at those varieties, and probably I have tried to list about 5 of them, but I'm sure there are 25 or 30 of them. There are people who are hostile, we consider them difficult. No, we can't do deal with them. There are people who are pessimist, नहीं उससे बात ही नहीं हो सकती है, because he's too pessimist. There are people बहुत ही रोतलू टाइप के होते हैं, whiners, we call them. Or there are people who are self-oriented, self-centered, and there are people who are not very responsive. They don't really एक इंच भी हिलते नहीं है, kind of passive people. How do you deal with those people? Generally, you find difficulty in dealing with difficult people is because either there is no repo which is existing, or there was a repo earlier but it is broken into pieces now. So when it comes to repo, when it comes to really dealing with difficult people, the first step is to really either build, if it was not existing earlier, or rebuild the broken repo. Reflective listening. When people are unhappy with you, when they are showing attitude to you, when they are pessimist, when they are aggressive or hostile with you, normally they speak in paragraphs. Normally they are venting out their frustrations in several statements. So here you can adopt a reflective listening. I'm sure you all have heard about active listening. Here I'm talking about reflective listening. Reflective listening actually gives you an opening, because when they are speaking in paragraphs, when they are venting out their frustrations, they end up sharing something that you can do about. And that is the point which you have to latch on, and then start responding to them. That's how you actually start dealing better with the difficult people. Establish clarity. Sometimes you have to really call spade a spade, and you have to tell people what do they want and what do you want. It's kind of a negotiation situation where you actually clarify your interest, that this is what I'm interested in, and you are interested in that. So that's how we will, we have a possibility to really converge and strike a deal. Apply lead and lag technique. Very, very important. I think those who have studied NLP probably would know about it, or those who have studied communication really deeply probably would be able to relate. When somebody is really talking in a very high tone, very high pitch, you should maintain your calm and composure. That is lag technique. Okay, when somebody is really at a very high, at the top of his voice, but if you are very calm, that person has absolutely no chance to stay at the top of their voice for more than 2, 3, 5 minutes. There is a study which says when people are angry, they can be angry only for about 10 minutes, not more than that. If they remain angry for more than 10 minutes, probably they will collapse, their heart will give up. So they have no choice but to come from that level to your level, which is a natural state of calm and composure. So apply those kind of lead and leg techniques when you're dealing with difficult people, hostile people. Stand your ground and spell out the consequences very, very clearly. Again, when it's time to call spade a spade, you don't have to really leave your ground. You don't have to really surrender or succumb to the pressure because the other person is hostile or suni nahi raha hai. You have to stand your ground and spell out what will be the consequences. That will probably will give him a reality check. All right. So with that, I end my presentation and some other session. Giving it back to you, Richa ji.
Thank you so much, Biman sir. I think this was just scratching the iceberg, but you still kind of, covered a lot of things. I would, before we open it up for the questions, I just request Mr. Bakshi to kind of, summarize the session, and then we make it open for the questions.
And before Bhakti sir starts, there is a surprise.